Hi, this is Lisa Mulligan, physical therapist at Advanced Injury Treatment Center. So one of the biggest issues that we see related to running injuries, especially those of the knee, is hip weakness. If your hips are weak, you lose stability at the knee, which usually causes them to collapse inward as you run and puts extra strain on the ligaments and the structures surrounding the knee. And you may be able to run injury-free for a little while, but eventually it will catch up to you. So here are some great hip strengthening exercises for you to not only prevent knee pain, but also to recruit the muscles that give your stride power and support as you run. Check them out. Okay, we're gonna start our runner's hip series with a single leg bridge. So go ahead and lie down flat on the mat with your knees bent up. And you're gonna straighten one leg about parallel with the opposite knee, lifting it off the ground. And then using your supported foot, push up into a bridge, squeezing the glutes at the top, and come back down. Perfect. This targets your hip extensors, your glutes, your hamstrings, all of which help power your stride with running. You want to keep your core nice and tight and your hips even. If you feel like your hips are dropping to one side or the other, modify by doing a double leg bridge. Next up, we're going to do a bird dog exercise, which also targets the muscles of hip extension and the posterior chain. So come down on all fours, hands directly beneath your shoulders, knees directly beneath your hips, and engage your core by pulling your belly button slightly towards your spine. And now you're going to extend one leg back, squeezing your glutes, and bringing it back down. Now when you're comfortable and stable, add the opposite arm. As you reach in one direction, reach in the opposite direction with your hand and bring it back down to the middle. Good. Now to increase the challenge, you could add a resistance band just above your knees. After about 10 to 15 reps, you can switch to the other leg. Your goal is to keep your hips nice and flat, not tipping one side to the other. This next exercise is a great way to engage both your core and your posterior hip muscles, extensors, hamstrings. So you're going to come into your basic plank position. Making sure you have a flat back, good position, neutral pelvis. And from here, you're going to lift one of your legs just slightly above the ground for about 5 to 10 repetitions. This is a tough one. Keep your hips steady, core engaged. Activate those glutes as you extend your hip back. Perfect. And switch to the other side. Next, we're going to target your hip abductors and the rotary muscles of your hip that help maintain good knee alignment while you're running. So you're going to come down into a modified side plank. So forearm on the mat, knees are contacting the mat, and when you're ready, lift up your hips just slightly from the mat, keeping your hips forward, like two headlights shining out so you're not twisting one way or the other. And then with your top knee, you're going to do a clamshell, keeping your feet together and lifting up that knee, feeling like you're not just lifting, but rotating it up. Good. For this next exercise, we're also going to target your hip abductors, helping to keep your knees in good alignment as you stride. So you're going to grab a resistance band for this one, a looped one, and put it around your ankles. I like to do ankles or around the arches of your feet to give you the best resistance for your hips. So keep your feet about hip width apart, coming into a slight squat, shifting your weight back over your heels, and push out into the band as you start to lateral walk. Good. You want to keep the resistance in the band as you go, and keep your knees in line over your toes, so don't let them rotate in. Very good. The last exercise in this series is going to challenge your core and control of your anterior hip muscles. So you're going to go lay down on your mat, and come into what's called a dead bug position. So your arms are lifted up to 90 degrees, and you're going to flatten your low back to the mat, coming into a posterior pelvic tilt to protect your lower back. And you want to hold that position throughout the motions. One knee comes up to 90 degrees, and bring the other knee up to meet it, holding onto that posterior pelvic tilt, and then you're going to lower one leg slowly with the opposite arm. Good. Bring it back to center. Switch knees, switch arms, bringing it back to center. And when you start to feel like you're going to lose that posterior pelvic tilt and your back starts to arch, time to take a break and reset. Very good. These exercises can be modified to either increase or decrease the level of difficulty depending on where you're at. And remember that maintaining proper form is always more important than how many repetitions you perform of the exercise. As always, if you are experiencing symptoms, come get checked out at the clinic and we can help create a tailored program specific for your needs with one of our physical therapists. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for our next video on runner injury prevention.